So welcome everybody to today's Adelaide Biomed-City Minireviews webinar series. And today is about drug discovery and development. My name is Yvette van Eenennaam, and I'm the CEO of Adelaide Biomed-City, the Health and Medical Innovation District here in the heart of Adelaide. And I'm also pleased to be today's chair. And before I introduce the presenters of today, I would like to acknowledge the Kaurna people, the original custodians of the lands we meet on today. I'd like to pay my respect to elders, both past, present, and future. And also before introducing the speakers, I would like to welcome our local, our national, and also our international listeners today here. These weekly short webinar series we do are really organized for researchers, clinicians, students, entrepreneurs and industry who like to get some deeper insight into our South Australian ecosystem, our key capabilities and our areas of strength, and also support you as an audience in navigating our system and to find new areas of collaboration and partnership. So hopefully today there's some new ideas are sparked for new partnerships in that. Today's session will be recorded and also will be available at the ABMC website later this week. So we always have the recordings of all the past webinars there. So if you're interested in a certain area of expertise or capabilities, just go to the webpage and you find the short videos there. I would also like to mention the Q&A. There's a Q&A option here in this Zoom. So feel free to ask any question during the presentation. I will have a look at it and I'll make sure I will ask the presenter afterwards. So now about today, this afternoon, we have two great industry leaders in the drug discovery and development sector. So our first speaker is Angelo Lepore from Mayne Pharma. And Angelo has more than 30 years of experience in the pharmaceutical research and development sector. He's an inventor in multiple patents, all related to commercialized products. Angelo has worked in both Australia and also in the US in the formulation and process development of multiple branded and generic products in the global market. So he has extensive experience in these areas, and he's currently leading a team of formulation scientists skilled in the development of solid oral, semi-solid, and also liquid dose forms, and also provide world-class development and technical transfer services to new treatments. And he does it in a very timely manner. So I'm looking forward to hear from Angelo. I open the floor to you.
Thank you for the introduction, Yvette. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your time today and giving me the opportunity to present on Mayne Contract Services. You know, it's a business close to my heart, one that I've been with for close to 32 years now. So as you can imagine, over 32 years, there's been a lot of evolution in the business. You know, we started way back when as FH Forwarding, for those of you that might be old enough to remember. We were under the Hospira banner for a while, and then finally we became Mayne Pharma. So as a part of Mayne Pharma, the Mayne Pharma Contract Services business has evolved, offering customers access to pharmaceutical contract development and manufacturing services from a highly experienced team with extensive knowledge gained from many years of developing manufacturing in-house products. So just quickly, I feel our mission statement sort of provides a real succinct summary of what Mayne Pharma, Mayne Contract Services is about today. You know, we endeavour to partner with our clients to develop and deliver pharmaceutical products from concept right through to commercialisation, and it changes lives of patients around the globe. A little bit about Mayne Pharma. So we have an international footprint. We've got manufacturing development capabilities in Australia and the US, and we have indirect commercial distribution through partners into Europe, South America and Asia. So we have a global presence. Our Australian manufacturing and product development facilities are located right here in Salisbury, South Australia. All right, so from our Salisbury facility, just to give you a a flavour, I guess, of what it is that we do here in-house. So we've got a rich history and strong track record of partnering with international partners to provide products right throughout the world. So we partner with Boryong in Korea, Pfizer, Sanofi, and Isden throughout Europe and South America, in particular, who partner with our super bioavailable itraconazole antifungal products. And these products are a real-life demonstration of our capabilities in the areas of liquids, semi-solids, and oral pharmaceutical dosage forms. And we cover both prescription and over-the-counter medicinal products. So, as I've touched on, we've got a proud history dating back to the 80s in the use of fluid bed modified release coating technologies. We use them to optimize drug adverse events or, optimize bioavailability. We've been using spray dryers in commercial manufacture of taste masks and then improved bioavailability drugs since the mid-90s. So then, under Mayne, we have a sister contract services unit based in the US. And based on the success of this contract services unit, a strategic decision was made to launch an Australian contract services division. And that business offers a range of services in the area of pharmaceutical development. We have capabilities in immediate and modified release orals, in taste masking, in bioavailability enhancement. As I've already mentioned, our spray drying and fluid bed processing capabilities right through to commercial scale. We have experts here in liquids and suspensions, in creams and ointments. And we use all that ability, to offer specialised services in clinical trial manufacture for phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical studies, small scale batch manufacture for preclinical studies. We do technology transfers both into and out of the sites globally. We can provide full manufacturing capability and documentation for regulatory submissions. We have the capability to handle potent substances, and we are licensed to handle controlled drug products and actives, including cannabinoids. On the analytical side, our development team can offer development and also full GMP release services right from their product development laboratory. They have an extensive range of analytical testing capabilities, standard chromatography techniques, extensive dissolution capabilities, in vitro release testing for semi-solids. We have a newly acquired QDA detector equipped with HPLC, extensive particle sizing methodology development, and microscopy services as well. And all of this, again, is used to offer analytical method development and optimization of complex test procedures, analytical method verification, qualification, and validation, depending on what stage your project might be at. Again, experience in transferring analytical methods into and out of the site. They can do GMP testing for clinical release, preparation of submission-ready documentation. They have the capability to perform ICH compliant stability studies and photostability studies. And we also offer capabilities on the commercial manufacturing side as well to match our development capabilities. So over in our production facility, which is located on the same site here at Salisbury, we can handle large-scale manufacture of solid drug products, semi-solids, liquids, and topical products. We have numerous packaging capabilities. We're approved by FDA, TGA, and through mutual recognition, MHRA, I should say, into Canada and other European and Asian authorities. We can, at commercial scale, we can offer support in product enhancement, whether it might be reformulation or process development improvements. There's full quality control services, full quality assurance services, product lifecycle management, a full range of validation services from cleaning right through to process. Again, they have capability to handle potent and controlled substances and conduct ICH compliant stability studies. And so just finally, a quick snapshot of what we have going on at the moment, just to give you a taste of the breadth of activities we have going on. In the area of manufacture of clinical supplies, we're currently manufacturing powders and capsules, placebo tablets, gels for human and animal studies, and taste mask liquids. We've got a program for a US over-the-counter product, which is a topical cream transfer and then commercial manufacture, US generic abbreviated new drug application. We've got a program going on at the moment with modified release beads in a capsule using our fluid beds. We've got a topical cream also under the US generic program. In the European new drug application space, we're working on a new indication for existing product. And in the analytical support areas, the lab does do a lot of work for clients that doesn't involve any formulation or manufacturing work. And examples of that are they're currently looking at development of preservative efficacy studies, and also an in vitro dose delivery, recovery, and drug release of capsule content study via nasogastric and gastric tubes. So that's it. I think it's a little over 8 minutes, but thanks for your time today. If there's anything we can offer that you might be interested in, please feel free to contact us either through Rosanna Carnes, our head of service delivery, or you can contact me directly. Thanks.
Thank you, Angelo. If you can stop sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody has a question, feel free to ask them in the Q&A as well. I have a question, a first question to you to kick off with, and that's mainly around what are the key current collaboration and partnership you're having with some of the Australian researchers and leaders in this space. Can you elaborate a little bit on the areas?
So we have, through Australia, actually through the R&D tax incentive program, there's a lot of companies even that are not necessarily originally Australian based, but have set up Australian entities to then be able to manufacture. We provide their clinical products in Australia, and they're able to access the federal government's tax rebate. So well, I guess we've got quite a few in that area. You know, they've approached us, and we look at what it is we can provide them, and yes, we partner up and provide them with what they need.
And if you look at you compare yourself with the other CDMOs, what makes Mayne differentiate from the others mainly?
Well, I think at the moment it's still you know, we're still relatively small, so therefore we are able to more directly be involved with the clients. They have direct access to the formulation and analytical staff. You know, the project teams, they have specific project teams who don't chop and change working on their products. And we've got really experienced formulation analytical scientists that have been involved in, you know, real world development and commercialization of pharmaceutical products. So that's what I think our advantage is.
Perfect. Sounds attractive. Sounds attractive. No, and there's another question coming in, if the time allows. Just one more. Is there a question from Paul? Is there any capability at Mayne Pharma for mRNA and other biologics?
No, unfortunately not. It's something I do dream of, but no, at this stage, no, we don't have capability for large molecules or mRNA capabilities.
My name's Farrand, and I head up the Australia-New Zealand operations for a Korean company called Yuhan. And the topic I'll be talking about today is centered around giving some tips or insights into how to approach the pharma industry if you're an academic researcher or a small biotech company, how to approach these pharma industry people with your idea. So I'll give you a bit of background on our company first. So we're the largest pharma company in Korea by sales. And we invest about 14% of net sales into R&D. And we have about 30 drugs under development. Nearly half of those are in cancer. We're also active in CNS, metabolic diseases, and immunology. And we're a conglomerate. So our parent company is a pharmaceutical, but we also run consumer goods, research and development services, and other businesses as well. So this is what our global footprint looks like. Our headquarters in South Korea. We have sales offices in Asia, as well as 3 open innovation offices in Boston, San Diego, and here in Adelaide. And we cover the Australia-New Zealand region. And we're really focused on search and evaluation for new investments, co-development in early preclinical assets, we call them. So drugs in the early stage of development that we can help develop and license. So where we sit in the food chain of drug development is right in the middle. So because drug development is very expensive and takes around 10 years, there are different stages of drug development and different players in each stage. So often early innovation discovery is sourced from basic research institutes, universities, as well as small biotech companies. And then the IP is generally transferred to mid-sized pharma companies like us. And then we put in the investment and the translational studies needed to out-license to usually a very large global pharma company that has the sales and marketing and manufacturing footprint to release a drug on the global market. So this transfer of IP between companies helps to reduce the cost and risk overall and increases the value of the asset. So here's an example of, here are many examples of our alliances that we've formed over the years. And so for different purposes, we form cooperative agreements with different companies. Most of these are small biotech companies, but we also partner with universities as well as large pharma as well. And when things go well, the assets we license in can then be sold off at a late stage of clinical development to larger pharmaceutical companies. And then the royalty streams are quite large. So even though we might source in a drug project or idea from a small biotech company or academic lab, there's usually a royalty stream back. So everyone benefits in the end. So one of the largest deals that we completed was for lazertinib, which is our 3rd generation EGFR inhibitor for lung cancer. That went to Janssen. So this equation, I hope, sort of illustrates how value is increased by this sort of arrangement. So innovation discovery is really best done by academia and small biotech companies. We might think that mid-sized pharma companies should be fairly good at discovering innovation, but this is not usually the case. And I think it's got a lot to do with the size of these organizations. So with large organizations of people, there's necessarily more bureaucracy, more politics, more vested interests. And this forms a sort of barrier to innovative and nimble research and the kind of risk-taking that's needed for good ideas to sprout. So academia and biotechs are much better at this sort of thing. But in terms of the limitations that occur between the inventors and mid-sized pharma like us, I've listed them there. The first is a shortage of novel targets. So for many of the most common diseases, there likely aren't that many new targets to be discovered. So this limits the transactions that we can do. The second is that there's often a big difference in the idea of value from an invention from the inventor through to the licensor. So although something might be original, this is quite different from differentiation of the drug. And the other hindrance is low reproducibility and poor quality of data. So this is a bit of an overview. So Bayer found that nearly 2/3 of their target validation projects could not be reproduced from published data. And Nature ran a survey of 1,500 researchers, and over half said there was a significant reproducibility crisis. And this is not really down to integrity or cooking the books or things like that. It's really a matter of science being, cutting edge science being a very sensitive and highly variable field. So it's easy for things to be overlooked, for honest mistakes to occur. So one obstacle for pharma licensing from academia is this issue of reproducibility. And so we might think that there's not that much to be discovered by academic labs, but there are still some relatively low-hanging fruit. So for an example, here in oncology, we have new target structures that can be elucidated. There are a lot of targets of interest that we still don't know the structure for. And there's this idea of synthetic lethality. That's where signaling pathways alone in cancer, for example, are not lethal to the cancer cells if you inhibit them by themselves, but you can have additive effects where you inhibit multiple redundant pathways to induce lethality. And another is discovery and characterization of new mutations that drive cancer progression. So if you're wanting to approach a pharmaceutical partner, it's essential to have a good non-confidential slide deck. So this is ideally around 10 slides that really talks about the basics of what your drug or idea is about. And so key here is the unmet need. What is it your drug, what solution is it solving in the clinic? The next thing is the differentiation of your drug. So this is a little bit different from the unmet need. This is really a comparison of your drug or idea to the standard of care. So what are the patients currently receiving, and why is your approach going to be better or different? And the last one is how will the human dose be determined? So there's a lot going on in this question. Calculating the correct human dose really is a matter of understanding safety, toxicity, pharmacokinetics, and understanding whether your drug reaches the target at sufficient concentration. So the human dose is really the key to your preclinical development. And in terms of tips for approaching larger companies, it's really your non-confidential slide deck is where all the action starts. Hopefully your non-confidential deck will be shared with people that you might not even have the chance to meet. So it really will say a lot about your program. So always invite feedback and critique on making a better non-confidential deck. These days, pharma companies are quite reluctant to enter into confidential discussions unless there's a good lead. The second tip is use your personal network to really try to get introductions and advice from people you know. So if you get an introduction to somebody via somebody else, in effect, that person is vouching for your credibility. And another helpful hint is to learn as much as you can about the partner company before you meet them. Try to understand exactly what areas of research and science and drug targeting they're interested in most, and try to tailor your pitch to that particular interest. That's all from me. Hope I gave some helpful insights, and be very happy to answer any questions. So I think Yvette's joined us back again now. Welcome back, Yvette.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for introducing yourself. Highly appreciate it with the dropout of the Wi-Fi. Please don't hesitate to ask any question you have in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. There should be one. I have a question to you more in your role as an expert in this field, not as much as CEO of Yuhan, but What if a research group is ready to take, has been working on a drug for some time, from a pharma perspective, what is the right timing to reach out and how to find the right people to talk to in the different pharma companies? So who to target in specific, depending on what?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the difficulties with larger pharma companies is trying to get your foot in the door and understanding who to talk to first. Really, the best entry method is through the partnering conferences. There's one on this week, Bio Europe, that's all happening online at the moment. Bio International will be coming in June, that's in the US, but the biggest Australian one is Oz Biotech, so that'll be October, I think, later this year in Perth. So at the partnering conferences, the large pharma companies are very receptive to receiving new pitches and ideas, so it's best to get them at the conferences.
Perfect. So October this year, and I know you here in South Australia, you have your ANZ office. What other universities in Australia and here in South Australia you have mainly been partnering with, and how did it come about?
Yeah, one of our first partnerships was with the Walter and Liza Hall Institute in Melbourne. So it was really driven by our headquarters. That came through a chance meeting at a Bio Europe conference some years ago. Apart from that, we're really keeping a tab on about 100 drug development projects throughout Australia and New Zealand, looking for their updates, trying to assist them where we can with feedback, but we're really in an active surveillance mode.
And there's one other question coming in. We still have some time left. So there's a lot of investment from the pharma industry into that early drug discovery at university. I don't know what the exact amounts are, but you think it's sufficient, the investment in that early stage drug development?
Yeah, it's a tough question. Generally with investment, more is better to spurn growth, but drug development is one of those strange areas where a lot of money gets wasted very quickly. And that's really due to a number of factors, but it's very resource intensive and there are extremely high rates of failure. So in terms of universities, sometimes that competitiveness doesn't match up with what's available in private enterprise. So biotechs are much more competitive at using money more resourcefully and moving to milestones more quickly. So university research is very important, but I tend to think government grants and the public grant system is maybe a bit more appropriate for academic drug research.
Yeah, so there's quite a range of opportunities, but there's also quite limitation on the early stage in that. So we're keen to see where the investments are coming from and how the investment dollars are increasing here in our country to really support that research ecosystem further. So thank you, Lee, for joining us today in the presentation, and thank you, Angelo, as well. We answered all the questions from the group. Thank you, everybody listening here today. And we will, this was a recording, as I mentioned at the start, and we will post it on our LA Biomed City website later on this week, and we'll promote it further across our ecosystem. So if there's any people in your network interested in any of the two key industry players here in South Australia, reaching national and international sectors and players, please feel free to reach out to them or notify them of the recordings on the websites. So thank you again and have a lovely evening.